Hi, today's question has 3 answers, and the third answer is a secret to why you may be wasting a lot of money and how you can really win at doing exactly what we're going to be discussing. So let's get into it. So the question that was asked was, should I pay money for republishing? The particular person who asked the question had a problem, which was they did their publishing most likely through some sort of an agency that will do the whole process for you. Then afterwards, he or she realized there was a problem with the book. So he went back to the publisher and said, we're going to need additional editing on this book in order to ensure that the quality is going to be high enough. Now, you would imagine for the package deal, if they'd done such a poor job on this process, that they would compensate and pay the money or take the time necessary to re-edit the work and get it out to the market. But in reality, they didn't do this. In fact, they want to charge a whole bunch of money to do one of the steps over again. And so you can imagine the frustration. Well, do you repay them to do the service again? It's a package deal, so you've already invested some money with them, and they've got you now, right? Because if you want changes, they've got it in their software, and that can be quite painful. Well, this is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com. Go and hit the subscribe bell if you would like to see more videos like this one. And check out below in the links, I have my self-publishing checklist secrets that you will not want to miss. It's free, and you can just grab a copy. So let's get into it. When I first started, I was listening to podcasts and I was reading books, and I understood that the advice that I had was you should just do it yourself. So I started at the beginning, I did each of the steps, I made huge mistakes as I went along, and I learned a lot by making these very mistakes. And so as I continued onwards, some of the things I did, including, for example, when I was going to have the book put into different formats, I paid someone on Fiverr in order to do the formatting on the books. The problem is that they chose colors that when you would make it into dark nighttime mode, suddenly you couldn't even see the table of contents because they had chosen the color blue. They had permanently frozen the colors there. And so it became invisible. So I went back and they wanted more money in order to make even small adjustments. That was when I realized that if I was going to do this, I was going to need to be able to do it myself first, and then I could train people to take on the work afterwards. And I ended up using a program called Uto. You can find it below in the links. It's an amazing program, the best on the market for formatting your books to make sure they're exactly perfect every time. I tried Scrivener and some others, but this one here was by far the best book on the market, or the best product on the market that would give you the ability to quickly format your books into exactly the perfect format without having to go back and forth and pay additional money. But let's get into the question of paying to have your book republished. And the answer is no, you should do the process yourself, okay? Because there are tons of scams on the market where these services, they make it look so simple. You just simply hand them the manuscript of your book, and they let you make a few choices on the cover and title and all these sorts of things, and then presto changeo, you hand over $1,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 to them, and they publish your book. The only problem is that your book is lower quality, and if you want to make any changes to it, then they're going to charge you a lot of money to make those changes. You see how this deal works, and in reality, they've got you. So so it makes it a lot trickier. They start off also with an initial price, and then what they'll say is that, oh, but you're definitely going to want to have an extra copywriting. You're going to want to have a description. You're going to want to have this. You're going to want to have that. And everything costs money, and each revision is going to cost an insane amount of money. So we could say, oh, we can do your book for only $1,000 or something. And before you know it, you spent $5,000. They may even own the rights to the book, which is completely insane. And they try to present themselves as though it isn't some sort of self-publishing or vanity publishing, but that it's really publishing. But in reality, you're paying to pay. You have to pay to play in their game, and you definitely do not want to enter into this sort of an ecosystem. So you should not pay them 1 cent more to do any changes to your book. You should simply take over control over everything that's going on with your book. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you learn to do self-publishing yourself, you figure out what it is you like and what you don't like. The best thing is to execute. We do not want to go for perfect, because in reality, it's impossible. You simply can't get to perfect until you've done those steps enough time and you say, this is a standard of quality that's good enough for me. And so That's something a lot of people have found, and that helps them, is that we break it down. And that's one thing with self-publishing madeeasynow.com, is that we break it down into simple steps. Our goal is not to make things so complicated. Usually it's just 1 to 3 steps for each of the phases we're looking at. And as you get better at it, then we can make it more complex. But it's okay, because making it complicated later doesn't really change it doesn't overwhelm you, because you've already adjusted to doing it the easy way. And so that's a big aspect that you need to keep in mind here. But the third one, and this is the secret here, it is the winning strategy, and I've mentioned it a little bit. It is learning the steps for yourself. Okay, that's the first part, as we mentioned before. But the second aspect to it is then you train other people how to do those steps. In my case, when I started, I learned how to do all the steps myself, so I knew what was involved, and then and only then I then trained virtual assistants to take over that work, and they would follow the instructions exactly as I tell them. So usually we break it down to like 3 steps for each of the little processes, and so they would follow the 3 steps involved in that, and then that would make it possible for them to do the work, and I could produce a lot more books, right? Notice there's no package deals, and with my virtual assistants, since we're paying on an hourly basis, I didn't have to pay them $1,000 to do some minor revisions to the books that we were doing, but rather I could simply have them pay them just an hourly wage to make the small changes and re-put out the book, and then I could publish it again. Okay, so if the quality level would be exactly what I wanted, but I didn't have to pay an insane amount of money in order to take them through this process. So what about you? What have you found? Have you found it worth your while to just keep paying again and again more and more money to these large companies that put out thousands and millions of books onto the market for people? They make it sound so easy, but in the end, you thought you'd pay $1,000, you end up paying $10,000. You're not happy with the end result. And sometimes, and this is the worst, they own the rights to the very books that you've put out, so that literally you're not allowed to actually make changes to your own books without going through them. So I see that it's not strategic to go that route where you're paying them to make those changes. You should take control of your books immediately and learn the steps yourself. So, but let me know below in the description what you found, and check out right above me here. You will see more video answers to your questions today. Thanks.